session with the absolutely soothing flute music. Thank you, Masters, for adding your beautiful energy to this group meditation. Please drink some water. Always make it a habit to sit with a glass of water before and after. A few sips is highly recommended. So, moon, does the moon affect humans? Yes, the moon and its lunar cycles can impact you, but for other reasons than you may think. For centuries, the moon and how it affects human behavior has been at the center of mythology and folklore around the world. The very word lunacy dates back to the 15th century when it was believed the moon and its phases could make people become more or less aggressive depending on its place in the lunar cycle. In some cultures, the moon is revered and worshipped for its place among the stars. But then, of course, there are lesser stories that hold a darker tone, haunting tales of werewolves whose transformation is dependent on the full moon. When you set aside superstitions and long standing myths, is there any scientific truth behind the way the moon bewitches us? Psychologist Susan Albers walks us through some of the research that's been done on lunar cycles and why we may just be changing our behaviors based on independent psychological reasons instead. Can the moon affect your health and behavior? All organisms conduct natural biological cycles for survival. When we talk about biological cycles, we probably most often think of our circadian rhythm, our body's internal 24-hour sleep wake cycle, and infradian rhythms, cycles that last longer than 24 hours, like the 28-day menstrual cycle or seasonal affective disorder. All of these biological cycles change based on the internal and external factors. And since our human bodies are made up of 55 to 78% of water, there is some reason to believe we too might be impacted by the moon, its light, and its 27-day lunar cycle, especially when you consider the moon's gravitational pull on the earth is powerful enough to affect the ocean tides. Research has shown that several species have adapted some of their biological cycles to line up with the lunar cycle. The reproductive cycle of marine animals, like tropical corals during full moon nights, annelid worms during the waxing moon, and the emergence of midgets at neap tides, is evidence of this lunar connection. A comprehensive overview of research highlights the moon's effects on biological processes across multiple species related to activity levels, feeding rituals, photosensitivity, migration, molting patterns, and more. But what about humans? Any research that's been done has been considered controversial, in part because studies on humans are conflicting, says Dr. Albers. In most cases, when there has been discussion of the moon's effect on humans, it's been anecdotal. Ask anyone about how a full moon affects our lives, and you have probably heard stories about birth rates climbing, an increase in emergency room visits, and an uptick in crime. As this review points out, there seems to be no correlation between the lunar cycle and those things. But nothing happens in a vacuum. Some studies have shown a possible correlation between the moon and human activity. More research is needed in the following areas. Do moon phases affect mood and mental health? It's long been believed that the moon can affect your mood. It is certainly true that environmental factors can play a part in a person's mood swings and act as a trigger for anxiety and depression. But it's unclear exactly how, if at all, the lunar cycle affects our mood and mental health. More research needs to be done on this topic. Does the moon affect our ability to sleep? Our ability to regulate our emotions is dependent on our body's ability to release and suppress certain hormones at certain times. In some ways, you can think of hormones like switches. When one is turned on, others might flip off. Certain hormones are higher during the day when we are awake, while others are higher in the evening when we are asleep. Melatonin is one of those hormones that is naturally released at night to calm your body down and prepare your body for sleep. When melatonin levels rise, serotonin, a feel good hormone that plays a role in controlling our mood and appetite, decreases. And if you introduce things like artificial light and say bright light from a full moon, it may have an impact on your ability to fall asleep and stay asleep because we know artificial light impacts our sleep wake cycle. One reason why studying the link between the lunar cycle and our ability to sleep is difficult is because studies are in constant contradiction with each other. Many sleep studies are held in tightly controlled, well lit laboratory settings, making some researchers question the accuracy. So, the next one, does the moon impact human reproduction? Research into reproductive cycles of fish and other marine animals has shown that some fish migrate and spawn according to the lunar cycle, and that some species increase their activity during a full moon when the moonlight is brightest. But such measurements are not quite as clear when it comes to humans. If you believe something will happen, it might come true. Regardless of contradiction and the lack of evidence supporting the exact mechanism behind the moon's effect on humans, there is no doubt that beliefs are long standing that there exists a link between the two. This may be in part because we hold so tightly to that belief, and in many cases, if you believe something to be true, it is true, even if it's to our own detriment. The power of belief looms large in folklore, mythology, and religion. The conclusion, we often put two and two together even when we know they have nothing in common. And this subconscious way of thinking is called illusory correlation. Most often, we choose to assume something is a certain way based on our own personal experiences and biases. We then mistake our own personal experiences as all the evidence we need. We see this play out when we uphold stereotypes of certain people and places, or subscribe to superstitions and beliefs around luck. In the same way, we can even hinge our own personal experiences on something as simple as the moon. The placebo effect, closely related in theory but different from illusory correlation, the placebo effect occurs when a person's physical or mental health improves or changes after taking a false form of treatment. We see this most often in clinical trials when someone receives sugar pills or saline and water injections and they experience improvement in their condition even though they didn't receive an actual treatment. This likely happens because of your brain's ability to expect a certain outcome and release certain hormones based on that expectation. The placebo effect is fascinating because it can have a profound and powerful effect on behavior, says Dr. Albers. Studies on this indicate that what you think or believe to be true can have a dramatic impact on the outcome, and it shouldn't be ignored when examining cause and effect. The power of daily affirmations and negative self talk. The same is true for these two. If you are in a continuous rut perpetuating negative self talk, it will dig you into a deeper hole. Being kind to yourself, being patient, and finding small ways to improve your condition and how you respond to things can have a huge impact. And relying on meditative practices that include positive thinking can have a really powerful effect too. This may even be true when you hang your hopes on the moon. Time and again, studies have shown that the power of your thoughts to impact your behavior is profound. This is why it's important to work daily on maintaining a positive mindset and keep your thoughts optimistic and upbeat. Be mindful of where you want your thoughts to lead you. The quality of your thoughts can be a game changer because they can determine your actions and habits in the long run. So it was just not about the moon. The author also talks in the end about our mindset, our daily affirmations, our practices like meditation, how all of these can improve overall our quality of life. So, with this, Masters, I like to end the session. And if anybody else would like to add anything more, kindly unmute yourself or simply raise your hand. As always, thank you for adding your beautiful energies to this group meditation by giving and also taking something from this practice. Thank you. Have a great day and an evening. Yes, Ram, please go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Ranjani ji. The music selection always is so very beautiful, and today as well. The second time that we play this music, we meditate with this music. It is so beautiful, very, very beautiful. So, thanks for that selection, and thanks everyone for adding the group energies. It was such a beautiful meditation, and what a perfect timing to learn about the impact of the full moon on humans, and what a best way to even experience it, because we had experienced it for the in this session and as well many times in the past. So it is very clear that many cultures, all the past cultures, had given significance on things that we do, particularly on these full moon days. So it has a direct impact. Science now as well, with through various researches, and beautifully it is said, luna, lunatics. It's come from the same word, luna. Luna in Italian means moon. So it has direct impact. We have to observe the power of full moon, and as we meditate, we can utilize well that energy of the full moon. If we do not meditate, we get influenced by the peaks of the emotions, whatever it is that we predominantly have because of our way of living. However, with the practice of meditation, we can well utilize the energies that are available. Instead of experiencing adverse effects of full moon energies, we can have a positive utilization of these energies with the practice of meditation by being aware of it. And so it's very important that during the full moon, which is 3 days before and 3 days after, so every month we have 1 week, wherein we can sit a little bit longer into meditation and tune in to these higher energies. So thanks a lot, Ranjani. Thanks everyone again.
Thank you so much, Ram. Thank you. Yes, as you said, we can make use of this whole week centered around the full moon to gain more of this energy which is easily available to us. And Shivaratri is also coming, another important day in the year, not for religious practices or pujas, but for getting the cosmic energy which is in abundance. So, by sitting all night on that day, you gain a lot. We all stand to gain by meditating on that day. Sadhguru keeps emphasizing that all the time. So, whatever is available in the universe, the energies, let us just tap into those readily available energies and improve ourselves in all aspects. So, thank you, Ram, and thank you, Masters, for joining. We'll conclude the session here if there is no